Junior Witter. It's a book I've done the book plan, and I'm going to be starting in the next weeks, certainly no later than March. And do you know what, on the subject of Junior Witter, it's like everything in life. There has to be good and there has to be evil. There has to be good and there has to be bad. There has to be pantomime villains in life, and you know, it just so happened that in Junior's weight category and generation or era at the time happened to be, yes, Henry Cooper was Britain's most loved. Then there was Bruno, and then there was Ricky Hatton, who you've only got to look at. Took 30,000 people to Las Vegas. You know, certainly there was no one loved by the British boxing. He was the darling of the sport. So if Junior was the main nemesis to Ricky Hatton, he couldn't outmatch him for being, you know, everyone's mate and having a pint in the pub with people and playing darts with them and all. So what he did do, quite cleverly, was he portrayed himself as the bad guy. So in British boxing these days, I mean, Tyson Fury was once upon a time the bad guy, and he was very successful at it. Now he's mental health ambassador and everyone loves him, you know. But probably going back to before he beat Klitschko, never really had a great deal of hardcore supporters like he does now. Now today in British boxing, who's the Junior Witters of today? Probably people like O'Hara Davies, bad guy, comes to the ring with the Undertaker music, often gets booed, and yeah, you know, listen, Dillian White's pretty much a bad guy these days. And you need bad guys in life. You need bad guys in boxing. You need the pantomime villains. You need the people. Yes, we need the, you know, there's lots of Ricky Hattons about, and Josh Warrington, Ricky Burns, the proper nice guys, really nice people. But you also need the baddies, and you know, I get it myself. Listen, you follow this channel, and you know, I mean, one comment I go, oh, I can't believe it. Jamie Boyle's doing Junior Witter's book. The most hated author ever is doing the most hated boxer's book ever. So you know, and I mean, I have people now out there spending time trying to destroy me, and I did have this conversation with Junior, and I said, look, so and so saying this, and court case, and complete utter rubbish. They're trying to ruin my good name. And I said to Junior, I was a bit panicking, I was a bit worried, I was a bit like, you know, and he said, listen, don't worry, I've had it. So anyone who you know, whether people detest me and hate me but still buy my books, I'm fine with that. I really am. And you know, listen, Junior Witter had people who watched him boxing, wanting to get him, hoping that he was going to get beat, but they still bought the ticket. They still bought, you know, they still went and supported him, or just because they weren't cheering, maybe they were booing him. It's still a form of supporting him. And yeah, I'm really interested in sitting down and listening to Junior, and I want to ask him how it affected him mentally to go into the away ground, to the excuse me, too many late nights working. I want to know how it felt going into the Lion's Den when he went to Germany, and when he went to America and fought Devon Alexander, and I'm sure he'd done it loads of times. The guy had 50 back, maybe more, I don't know. But listen, the guy fought at every level. British, Commonwealth, European, world title, WBC. So out of the 4 belts, you've got the best. He even was a world champion. You know them smaller belts, WBO, Intercontinental, European, WBF, you know them kind of IBO, you're playing, winning snakes and ladders. So the guy literally fought at every level. I'm sure he fought like Northern area or Southern area or whatever. So the guy literally completed the sport of boxing. There was no level that Junior Witter never did in boxing. And you know what, I kind of had the idea of coming up to do this, but I was in London last year, and I was spending a bit of time with like Sean Atwood and Alex Reid and Martin O'Neill, and I wasn't going to come back until the Monday. I think I come back on the Saturday. No, Sunday I come back, and I met Junior on the Monday. That was it. And you know, it's been like a year down the line, but I've always had it in the back of my mind. I really fancy his story. I like him as a person. Even when he was a boxer and he was the bad guy, I'm drawn to the bad guys of life. You know, when you look at some of the books I've done, your Lee Duffys, your Paul Sykes, your Roy Shaws, your Dominic Neguses, I don't know, 20 plus I think I've done now, but I'm drawn to the underdogs in life, the pretty different, strange people. And I slept rough years ago in Edinburgh, and I had a pocket loads of money, could have went into a hotel, and the wife rang me and she was like, "What are you doing?" And I ended up partying with the homeless people, because I like different people in life. I like the underdog. I'm not saying Junior Witter is an underdog, but he's very different, and I'm looking forward to sitting with him for about 4 or 5 days, for about 20 odd hours, and I just want him to bleed, and I want every emotion, crying and happy, and you know, I don't know, does he have any mental health problems? Was he bullied? I think he suffered a bit of racism as a kid. So I'm looking forward to just producing this book, along with Nick Manners, is going to be the rest of my work for this year. So I'd done Alan Thompson last year. So Junior Witter, I'm just about to step into the world of Junior Witter, and I'm going to be obsessed with him. And I want to hear from his side. Did it get to him? Did he have moments like I have, when the trolls get a bit much, and I start to suffer from my anxiety disorder, and I developed tics, chronic anxiety? Did it get too much for him? I don't know. I don't know anything about him, other than I've met him. I've met him a couple of times. I met him about 2016, and he gave me a lot of his time. He was really, really nice to my son. I met him at a Josh Warrington fight about 2006. In fact, it wasn't a fight, it was a win, 2016. And I thought, what a nice guy you are. And he, you know, my son then was about 8, and he was really, really nice to him, and that stuck in my mind. Probably stuck in my mind, and that's what I thought. Listen, I knew the career of his had, but I can't work with anyone who I don't like. So if Junior that day had been like an arrogant prick, full of himself, like he comes across on the camera, then I certainly wouldn't have been doing his book. But I got talking to his business partner last year, and I thought, yeah, I like his story straight away. And you know, I've been talking to Junior last year. I meant to really start this in trying to think when it was, January, February. I don't think it was going to be any later than March, but I've had a few problems with a few legal issues I've had to sort out, and silence these people now, because I'm not having them ruining my career. So legally I need these people dealt with, and I've just had to finish doing Jack the Ripper book and all that. But anyway, Junior Witter, I'm looking forward to walking into his world. meeting some of the people nearest and dearest to him. And you know, listen, if he's as much of an arsehole as he come across once upon a time, I'm going to get that out of him, but I don't think he will. I think he comes across as misunderstood. Listen, he was involved in the most difficult sport in the world, so it wasn't going to wash or get him to where he needed to be if he come across doing the perfect, polite, charismatic English gentleman. He needed to be Junior Witter, the arrogant, flamboyant, brash, cocky, I am that good and I'm going to beat you, and Ricky Hatton, you're this and you're that. And he had to be like that. He had to put a mask on and be that person. But yeah, listen, I'm really looking forward to getting obsessed with him, and I will release the book. I think I'll be looking at about November for this one. It'll certainly be out for Christmas. So Junior Witter, The Avoided, by myself, Jamie Boyle, Warcry Publishing. I'm going to get no rock will be left unturned. If you're watching this, Junior, I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to really dig deep, mate, and I'm going to look out for everything, and you know, listen, put a book out there, brutally honest truth, and you might want to. I want to talk about some of the things. I want to talk about some of the things that the media have got out there, and you probably won't like. But I want your response, because we, as the British boxing public, have heard the Junior, the Ricky Hatton this, and Amir Khan had the fight and then he didn't want it, and Floyd Mayweather was mandatory, and the Andre Berto fight, and the aftermath of the Devon Alexander, the Junior Witter quit, and what was the answer to all that? So this book is without question going to be a world exclusive. Junior Witter in his own voice, and if you don't like it, then it's just too bad. But you know, Junior won't be, pardon the pun, pulling any punches. I think I've said that right. And listen, I like him. I like him as a man. I've got to know him. I liked his story. He was a good baddie. He was a bad guy. He was like Tony Montana. You know, you need, what did Tony Montana say in the film? You need the bad guys. Look, you need people like me so you can point your effing finger, I think his movie rule said. But you know, listen, I've spoke to so many people in the last year, and they're like, oh, Junior Witter, and they just portray this guy as a baddie. But I don't think he was, and I think if he was, he played that role well. And a good friend of mine, John Spenceley, he fought on the undercard of Cassius Clay against Henry Cooper, and he said, I sat with him in the dressing room, young Cassius Clay then, and he said he was the nicest, lovely, polite gentleman ever. And he said, as soon as the dressing room door opened, he put a mask on and he turned into the horrible, obnoxious person who everyone 55, nearly 60 years ago hated and wanted to lose. So I think Junior Witter was like that. From being in his company a couple of times, I think the book's going to portray that, but I don't know. Listen, I might be wrong, and he might just be, Junior might be just a baddie. But listen, I'm really proud to have been connected and to be given the great opportunity of, regardless of your emotions of Junior Witter, whether you loved him, loathed him, think he epitomised everything, who was a dickhead. Listen, you can't knock what that man achieved in the sport of boxing, and that was British, Commonwealth, European, and not only world champion, was the WBC, World Boxing Council champion, which is the best belt of the four. So for any young, inspiring sportsmen out there, learn from his mistakes. You know, if he did do any mistakes, I don't know. Maybe PR was his mistake. I think I spoke to him the other day. But you know, he wasn't. Listen, Ricky Hatton and Josh Warrington have probably had a pint with all their supporters. I don't think Junior was like that. But today, boxing is a business, particularly in the 21st century, and maybe if you could do it all again, would you have been a bit more business minded? I don't know. It's not for me to say. It'll be juniors. But yeah, I'll be looking forward to sitting with him and recording it, and just I'm his pen and paper and his dictaphone, and finding out who really was this young kid who was raised from the council estates of Bradford. And listen, the guy completed boxing. There was nothing else he meant. The only thing, in my opinion, Junior Witter was never involved with, and I don't actually think it was his fault, was he never got the big fights. He never got the pay-per-view fights with your Manny Pacquiao's and your Floyd Mayweather's. But it wasn't his fault. You can't be anything other than be the mandatory. And Floyd, he was number one for Floyd's title, and Floyd gave up the belt, and Junior fought Chop McCauley. So yeah, it's going to be an outstanding. I know it is. I can just feel it. I knew that before I met him, because obviously I watched a lot of his. I read about him in the Boxing News and the Boxing Monthly, and I knew of him probably around 1995, but I started taking notice of him about 2000 when he just lost Zab Judah. So that was, what we on that, 22 years ago. So, but yeah, listen, this book will be Junior's own words. I imagine there's going to be a lot of strong things in it, and if there's not, I'll be pretty disappointed with Junior. You know, who was the reason behind Ricky Hatton and Junior Witter not fighting? Because that fight, right, you've got to remember, was spoken of for 10 years. 10 years, the British public demanded that fight, and it never happened. So whose fault was it? Was it Junior's? Was it Ricky Hatton's? Was it Frank Warren's? Obviously Eddie Hearn was, you know, just coming into the sport at that. So who's at fault for, in my opinion, the greatest fight that never happened? It hurts me to say it, really, but I want to know who's at fault. So listen, whoever's responsible, I'm sure Junior's going to tell me. So Junior Witter, The Avoided, written by myself, Jamie Boyle, is going to be released. So it's going to be a winter book. November, December time I'm looking at, but it'll be ready when it's ready. It'll be cooked when it's cooked, and I'm looking forward to working with Junior in the next couple of weeks. There is a Facebook page on Facebook, and it's called Junior Witter The Avoided. So if anyone wants any more information about the forthcoming book, and you know, if anyone would like Junior on their podcast, I've spoken to James English, Sean Atwood, Talk Sport. So when the book's out, I've got a lot of things for Junior to be involved with. But if there's any newspapers out there, magazines or radios, I don't know, if you would like to chat with Junior, message the Facebook page or give me a tweet on Twitter at JamieBoyle10. Thanks for your time, guys. Don't forget to click and subscribe. And Junior Witter, The Avoided, is going to be coming at the end of this year. What's it about? Clues in the name.